New Year's Eve. I caught my wife in bed with a stranger, right in front of a full house. Shock, betrayal, and lies. That was just the beginning of hell. Within hours, I'm hacking into her secrets, stealing passwords to erase the evidence of her affair. But the game's just started. She's blackmailing me with the video, threatening to leave me with nothing. I'm at the edge. Either give in or lose everything. This isn't just a divorce. It's a war where every move is fight or die. Ready for the brutal truth? Watch till the end. They say New Year's Eve is a time of celebration, of champagne bubbles and resolutions you'll break by January 3rd. Well, let me tell you, that particular New Year's Eve, I definitely broke something. Not a resolution, not a glass. My faith in humanity, maybe? Or more precisely, in my wife, Natalie. Let me set the scene. It was one of those rich friend parties. You know the type. Catered sushi, a chocolate fountain taller than the hostess's emotional stability, and more sequins than a Vegas drag show. Natalie looked stunning that night, I'll give her that. Hair done up like she walked off a red carpet, legs for days in that black backless dress, and heels that made her nearly eye level with me, and I'm 6'2". We'd been married for 6 years. No kids. A dog, sure, Baxter. A bulldog with more loyalty in his jowls than what I was about to witness in my wife. Now, I'm not a suspicious man. I'm the kind of guy who trusts the waitress when she says, the chef just loves adding extra cilantro, even though I hate cilantro. I'm easygoing. I'm steady. Hell, I even let Natalie pick the Netflix shows 70% of the time, and that's marriage gold if you ask me. But that night, that cursed, glitter-soaked night, something was off. It started around 10:45 p.m. I was holding a plastic champagne flute, because apparently we celebrate decadence with disposable stemware now, chatting with Greg from accounting. Greg was explaining how cryptocurrency was about to change the world, for the 8th time, when I realized Natalie was gone. I scanned the room. No Natalie. No glittering black dress. No 6-foot-tall man magnet wife. Bathroom, I told myself. Maybe powdering her nose. But 5 minutes passed. Then 10. I even checked the bathroom hallway. Nada. And that's when I saw it. The door to the upstairs bedroom, barely cracked open. Flickering light. Shadows moving. Now, let me be clear. I'm not the jealous type. But when your wife vanishes at a party, and there's a half-closed bedroom door upstairs in the host's mansion, and you're 2 drinks into pretending you like Greg's opinions about NFTs, well, curiosity wins. I climbed the stairs slowly, half convinced I was overreacting. Maybe she was helping someone find their purse. Maybe she got a nosebleed. Maybe this was nothing. And then I heard it. Laughter. Her laughter. But not the kind of laugh you give when someone tells a joke. No. This was the kind of laugh she gave me when she was naked and trying to get me to stop tickling her thighs. Then I heard his voice. God, you're wild. I froze. Now, I'm not a poet, but something in me shattered, like glass dropped in slow motion. Maybe it was my pride. Maybe it was my trust. Maybe it was the naive part of me that believed in happily ever after, with a woman who once said, and I quote, "I'm just not like those other girls." I nudged the door. It creaked. Big mistake. What I saw next was, how should I say this, not exactly fit for a Disney movie. There she was, on her back, still wearing that glittery dress, although one side of the straps was hanging off like it had surrendered. On top of her was a man I did not recognize. Shirtless, tan, muscles like a Calvin Klein model had been photoshopped into existence and then dropped into my marriage like a nuclear warhead. They both froze. I froze. 3 statues in a very expensive, very awkward wax museum. Natalie's mouth opened, but all that came out was, "Oh, oh, oh." That was it. Not, "Wait," not, "This isn't what it looks like." Just, "Oh." I stood there, holding my champagne like I was toasting my own personal apocalypse. "I should go," the man mountain said. "You think?" I replied, voice flat, eyes locked on Natalie like I was trying to laser etch my rage into her soul. He grabbed his shirt, bolted. I turned back to her. "I can explain," she blurted out. I raised an eyebrow. "Can you explain how your New Year's resolution was apparently New Year, New Dick?" That one landed. Her mouth opened again, but I didn't wait. I turned and walked out, the countdown to midnight echoing behind me like a sick joke. 10, 9, 8. I hit the front door, pushing through partygoers yelling, "Happy New Year!" with streamers and no idea that someone just dropped a damn nuke upstairs. 5, 4. I stepped out into the cold night. No jacket, no wife, just betrayal steaming off me like the breath I was trying to steady. 2, 1. Fireworks erupted. Behind me, cheers. Ahead of me, silence. Happy frickin' New Year. You know that feeling when you're just done? When everything around you is spinning, but you're too exhausted to even try to hold on? That's how I felt the moment I stepped out of that party. My mind was racing, heart pounding, but all I could think about was getting the hell out of there. So I did what any man in my situation would do. I went to my country house. Now, the country house wasn't some cozy cabin by the lake with a porch swing and a view of the mountains. No. It was a fortress. A concrete bunker with a few acres of land where I could scream without anyone hearing me. I needed space. I needed to think. I needed silence. The drive was a blur. I didn't even notice the clock ticking over midnight. By the time I hit the gravel road that led to the house, the fireworks from the city looked like distant flashes in my rearview mirror. That's when it hit me. I didn't even get to kiss my wife at midnight. No champagne. No Happy New Year, baby. Instead, I was alone in my car, listening to the tires crunch on the road like they were mocking me. By the time I pulled into the driveway, I was feeling a strange mix of rage and numbness. I slammed the truck door shut and stood there in the driveway for a moment, staring at the empty house, like I was trying to figure out who lived there. Me, or the guy I used to be. Inside, the house was cold, not because the heat wasn't on, but because it had always felt like a fortress, a place where I could escape from the chaos of the city. Now it just felt like a mausoleum. I dropped my keys onto the kitchen counter and grabbed the nearest bottle of whiskey. I poured a glass that was probably too big. Hell, at that point, I needed it. The ice clinked in the glass as I took a deep gulp. What the hell just happened? There's a strange thing about betrayal. It doesn't hit you all at once. Oh no, it's a slow burn. First, there's disbelief, then confusion, then that old friend, anger. But that anger doesn't come in the form of rage, not at first. It's more like an uncomfortable, gnawing feeling in your gut, the kind that tells you you've been played, but you don't know exactly how. I leaned against the counter and stared out the window at the vast, empty field that stretched out into the darkness. Why? What did I miss? I ran through the last few months, the last year. What had I been doing? Working, more working, meeting deadlines, keeping my head down, making sure I kept my promises. Did I miss something? Did I do something wrong? I thought back to our last conversation before the party. She was fine, perfectly fine. She kissed me goodbye when I left for work that morning, told me to have fun at the party. There was no sign of anything off. No secret looks, no late-night texting, no strange absences. Or maybe there were. Maybe I was too blind to see it. My phone buzzed on the counter, and I almost didn't pick it up. But curiosity got the best of me. I glanced at the screen. It was her. "Can we talk? I need to explain." Explain? Explain what? How she just went and made out with some guy upstairs at a party? How she thought I wouldn't find out? How she shattered everything in the blink of an eye? I ran my hand over my face. No, no talking. I wasn't ready for that. Not yet. I glanced back out the window. I couldn't even remember the last time I'd been here and just thought. I always came out here to escape, not to reflect. Hell, the house was filled with old furniture and hunting trophies from a version of me that didn't feel like he'd been betrayed at every turn. I wandered upstairs to the master bedroom, where it all began. The bed we shared, the pillows we cuddled on, the space we once inhabited so easily, so naturally. Now it felt foreign. The covers, rumpled and disheveled, seemed to mock me. I sat down on the edge of the bed. I let the silence of the room suffocate me for a few minutes, wondering how it had all gone wrong. Was I so wrapped up in work and being the good guy that I missed all the little cracks in our relationship? Maybe this was how it worked. Maybe you start as two people, two whole beings, and somewhere along the line you lose each other. Or maybe it was just her. Maybe she wanted something I couldn't give her. But then, why marry me? The thoughts spiraled again. I grabbed the glass, taking another gulp, and immediately regretted it. The burn was just as unpleasant as the realization that nothing about this was going to be easy. When you're hurt, they say the best medicine is time, or maybe a stiff drink. But for me, time wasn't doing me any favors. I wasn't looking for healing. I wasn't looking for closure. I was looking for something else. Revenge. That night, I didn't sleep. I couldn't. The house felt like a cold shell around me, mocking me. Each creak of the old floorboards was a reminder that everything I thought I had was gone. So, I did what any frustrated, angry man would do. I got on my phone. It didn't take much searching. I'd heard of those hookup apps, the ones that promised no strings, no complications, the ones where people just needed a release. So, I found one, signed up, and within minutes I was staring at pictures of women who were willing to give it all up for a night of anonymous fun. At first, I felt disgusted. Was this me? Was I really going to do this? But then I remembered what Natalie had done. How she'd taken what was ours and turned it into something filthy, something I never saw coming. Why shouldn't I get something out of this? Why shouldn't I have a little fun of my own? I wasn't looking for love. I wasn't even looking for companionship. I was looking for one thing: control. I scrolled through the profiles, eyes darting across every picture, every bio. They all had a similar vibe: wild, adventurous, no strings attached, yada yada yada. But then I saw her. Her name was Tasha. Her profile picture was her in a tight red dress, standing under a street lamp in the city. Her lips were full, her eyes piercing. Everything about her screamed confidence, and for that night, that's exactly what I needed. I messaged her. "Hey, you interested in something no strings attached tonight? I've got a place in the country." It didn't take long for her to reply. "Let's do it. I'm free tonight. What time?" I set the details. She would meet me in an hour. I looked around the house, filled with memories. The kitchen, where we used to share our morning coffee. The living room, where we'd spent hours watching movies, snuggling under blankets. All of it felt like a lie now. This was a new chapter. A dark, twisted chapter, where I was in control. I took a long, hard look in the mirror as I got ready. I didn't recognize the man staring back at me. He looked like me, but there was something different in his eyes. Anger? Frustration? Or maybe it was something darker. A man who had been wronged and was finally taking back what he lost. Tasha arrived just as the sun began to set, her car pulling up the gravel driveway like some kind of silent predator. I opened the door. She was everything I expected. Tall, with long dark hair, a leather jacket, and boots that looked like they could kick down doors. Her confidence wasn't just in her looks, it was in the way she walked, the way she carried herself. "Nice place," she said, smirking as she stepped past me, her eyes scanning the house. "Yeah, it's been a while since I've used it. Not really into the whole romantic getaway thing." I chuckled, but it felt empty. "Tonight's just about fun, right?" she said with a playful wink. I nodded. Exactly. We didn't waste time. It wasn't about talking. It wasn't about pretending to be someone else. It was raw, it was fast, and it was everything I wanted. Every minute felt like a moment of control I'd been denied. In that room, I wasn't the guy who had been betrayed. I was the guy who was finally getting what he deserved. The world outside that bedroom felt distant, like a bad dream. All I could focus on was the release, the feeling of power that came with taking what I wanted. When it was over, I didn't feel good. I didn't feel satisfied. I felt empty. And that's when my phone buzzed. It was a text from Natalie. "I'm sorry. Please, can we talk? I need you to come home." I stared at the message, my thumb hovering over the screen. The words felt hollow. How could she be so calm, so normal? I'd been sitting here destroying everything I believed in, and she was sitting somewhere texting me like we could just patch things up with a few words, like she hadn't just shattered my world. I ignored it. The silence in the room felt suffocating as I put my phone down and turned back to Tasha, who was already getting dressed. She was slipping into her boots with casual ease, unaffected by the chaos of the night. I couldn't help but feel a rush of anger again. What the hell was this? Was this what my marriage had come to? Was this what she had made me into? A man who needed to escape into something cheap, something meaningless, just to feel like he wasn't the one being dragged through the dirt? I walked back into the living room, grabbed my phone again, and took a long look at Natalie's text. "Please, can we talk?" I didn't reply. Instead, I turned off the phone and shoved it into my pocket. You know, when people talk about getting out of a marriage, they always make it sound like some big, dramatic moment. Like you're gonna throw a glass of wine in her face or storm out with your bags ready to start a new life. But the reality? It's a lot quieter, a lot colder. It's paperwork, it's planning, and it's the realization that everything you've worked for can be reduced to a few pieces of paper and a signature. The morning after Tasha left, I woke up alone in the country house. The remnants of the night before were still hanging in the air. That faint perfume smell from Tasha's skin, the lingering taste of whiskey on my tongue. But the most overpowering thing in the room was the silence. I hadn't checked my phone yet, and I didn't want to. What was the point? Natalie had probably sent me another 100 texts, each one more desperate than the last. But honestly, at this point, I was done pretending I cared. I walked downstairs and poured myself another cup of coffee, then sat down at the kitchen table where the sun filtered in through the window. The house felt like a tomb, but I wasn't ready to leave it just yet. I wasn't even sure what I was doing here anymore. I'd gotten everything I'd ever wanted, or so I thought. The house, the marriage, the comfortable life. It was all a facade. And now, that facade was crumbling in the worst possible way. I thought about the last few days, weeks, months. How many times had I overlooked the signs? How many times had I been too busy with work to notice that Natalie was slipping away? Too busy being the good husband to see that she was seeking excitement somewhere else? She'd shattered it all, not with a single mistake, but with years of small betrayals, of half-truths, of emotional distance. And now I was left with nothing but this burning desire to get out, to cut my ties and start over. But starting over meant one thing: property. It was time to get serious. I wasn't going to do this like some bitter, angry fool. No, I was going to do it right. I needed to split everything: the house, the assets, everything we had accumulated over the years. And I needed someone who knew exactly how to make that happen. So I picked up my phone and called a number I'd been given a few months earlier by a buddy at the office. His name was Robert King, a name that was practically synonymous with high-powered divorce law in the city. If anyone could get me out of this marriage with the least amount of mess, it was him. Hello? His voice was calm, like he'd just woken up from a leather chair. Robert, it's John. I need your help. There was a brief pause. Of course, Mr. Carter. I've been expecting your call. The man didn't miss a beat. I want to get out of my marriage, I said flatly. I need to divide the property, file for divorce, and I don't want it to get messy. Understood. I'll take care of everything. But before we proceed, I'll need to meet with you. Let's discuss the details. We can't move forward without a full understanding of your assets and liabilities. I'm heading back into the city today, I said. Let's meet tomorrow. The line went dead. The next day, I met Robert at his office. It was one of those fancy, high-rise buildings in the heart of downtown, the kind that made you feel like you were either about to sign away your soul or buy a small country. I walked in, past the sleek glass doors and marble floors, and into his office, where the real game would begin. Robert was exactly as I imagined him. Tall, sharp, dressed in a tailored suit, with a demeanor that was part lawyer, part shark. He didn't shake my hand. Instead, he sat behind his desk, gesturing for me to sit down. Mr. Carter, I've looked over your file. You've got a lot at stake here, he said, his eyes flicking over to the stack of paperwork on his desk. I'll handle everything, but I need to know what you want out of this. Are you interested in an even split, or are we fighting for full custody of the assets? Just get me out, I said. I don't care about her anymore. I just want my share. He nodded, as if he expected that answer. I'll prepare a draft for you, including the property division and some documents to serve your wife. We'll need to be strategic. She's likely going to resist." I let out a dry laugh. I'd be surprised if she didn't. He smiled faintly. "Divorces like yours, high conflict, high stakes, they take time. But we'll make sure you get everything you're entitled to. Don't worry about a thing." He handed me the first set of documents. "These are the initial filings. You'll sign them, and I'll prepare the rest. Once they're filed, your wife will be served. From there, we can discuss her response." I glanced over the papers. It was all business, a clean break. There were no emotional clauses, no "let's try to work things out" nonsense. It was just a series of forms, cold and precise. This was how it was going to go down. I signed the papers without a second thought. "Everything's in motion now," Robert said, taking the documents back from me. "Once I serve your wife, we'll begin the negotiations. I'll keep you updated." That night, as I sat alone in the country house again, I couldn't help but feel a strange sense of finality. I was doing it. I was getting out. But that wasn't the end of it, was it? No. It wasn't just about the property. It was about the message I was sending. The message to her, to me, that I was done. I glanced at my phone. Another message from Natalie. "Please, can we talk? I've been trying to reach you. I'm so sorry." I turned my phone face down. I didn't need to see it anymore. Soon, this would all be over. The morning after Tasha left, I woke up to the same emptiness that had settled in my bones since the night of the party. The country house felt like a cage now, not the retreat it once was. A place of peace had turned into a cold reminder of everything that had fallen apart. The legal papers were in motion. The divorce was coming, but that didn't erase the hollow feeling in my chest. I wasn't expecting visitors. Not today. Not ever again if I had it my way. But then came the knock at the door. At first, I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me. I stayed frozen for a second, staring at the kitchen table where the morning sunlight made the space look almost peaceful. I thought, maybe it's just the wind. But the knock came again, sharper this time. I opened the door to find her standing there. Natalie. Her face was pale, eyes red-rimmed, but there was a certainty in the way she stood, like she had something she needed to say, something she knew would turn the table. She wasn't just visiting. She wasn't just here for a casual conversation. No, she had a point to prove. "I need to talk to you," she said, voice low but unwavering. "Now." I didn't speak. I just stepped aside and let her in, my mind already spiraling. What now? What could she possibly say that wasn't another round of the same tired lies? She moved through the house like she had every right to be there, eyes scanning the place as if she were mentally rearranging the furniture. We stood in silence for a moment. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears as I tried to understand why she was here. But there was something in her posture, in the cold look she gave me, that made me think this wasn't about reconciliation. This wasn't some last-ditch effort to save a marriage. This was something else. "What is this?" I finally asked, my voice colder than I meant it to be. "What do you want, Natalie?" She didn't answer right away. Instead, she exhaled like she'd been holding this breath for a long time. "You know, I've always been a good wife, John. I supported you. I gave you everything. Her eyes locked onto mine, and I could see the familiar, ugly anger bubbling to the surface. But you couldn't even keep your pants on. You betrayed me. I stared at her, stunned. Are you seriously saying that I ruined everything? I stepped forward, my voice rising. You're the one who cheated first. You started this. You were the one who betrayed me, long before I ever even thought about what happened with Tasha. She flinched, her eyes narrowing. I didn't come here to listen to your pathetic excuses, John. You've lied to me, manipulated me for years. Don't try to pretend you're the victim here. Her words stung, but I stood my ground. No, I'm not pretending to be a victim, Natalie. I'm just tired of pretending everything's fine when it's clearly not. You've been cold to me for months, and I wasn't blind. I wasn't the one who turned this marriage into a joke. She stepped closer, a smirk on her face. That's rich. After all your good husband nonsense, you think I didn't notice? You think I didn't see you slipping away? So tell me, John, how many times have you lied to me? How many times did you actually check out of this marriage before I even did? I was about to reply, but then she pulled out her phone and tossed it onto the table. My stomach tightened when I saw what she'd pulled up. Video footage. This is what I've been dealing with, John. And don't act surprised. I installed cameras in this house a while ago. For security reasons, she added coldly, watching my reaction like a hawk. But I guess I'm just the paranoid one, right? My eyes went wide, and I took a step back. You've been watching me? I couldn't believe what she was saying. You've been spying on me this whole time? Her gaze didn't waver. It wasn't spying, John. It was protecting myself. I knew something was off, but I had to make sure. She tapped her phone, and the video of me and Tasha played. My gut twisted in knots as I watched myself in the footage, in my own bed, with a woman I thought was just a one-night mistake. She was right. There was no denying it now. But the way she stood there, cold, calculating, and smug, made me sick. She wasn't just hurt. She wasn't just angry. She was playing a game. You're sick, I spat, trying to hold on to some shred of dignity. You're using my mistakes to blackmail me. You have the audacity to walk in here like the innocent one? Her face hardened. You can try to twist this any way you want, John, but I'm done being the one who's wrong. I'm the one who's been humiliated, and now it's time for you to pay. I shook my head. What do you want from me? Her smile returned, cold and victorious. I'm not going anywhere, John. You're not getting out of this. If you want to leave me, fine, but you'll leave with nothing. No house, no money, nothing. Or, she leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a whisper, we can stay together. I stared at her, my blood boiling. What? Stay together? I repeated, incredulous. After everything you've done to me, you want me to stay with you? She nodded, completely calm. Yes, you will stay with me, and we will pretend like everything is fine. You will be the perfect husband again. That's your only choice. I felt my chest tightened with a mixture of rage and disbelief. She was blackmailing me. She was giving me an ultimatum. Stay with her or lose everything. It was like a sick joke, a cruel game, and I was the pawn. Or else what? I managed to choke out. What are you going to do, Natalie? What more can you take from me? Her expression didn't change. I've got you cornered, John. Don't test me. You'll stay. You'll be the husband I want you to be. Or you'll walk away with nothing. No house, no assets, no reputation. I stood there, frozen, as the weight of her words settled over me like a suffocating blanket. She wasn't asking for an apology. She wasn't asking for forgiveness. She was demanding control. And I had to make a choice. The drive back into the city was a blur. I didn't even care about the traffic. The world outside the car window felt distant, like I was watching a movie I wasn't really part of. My hands gripped the wheel tight, knuckles white, as I tried to keep my mind from spiraling into the abyss. I had just left Natalie at the country house after she laid out her terms, and I had never felt so small. Stay with her or lose everything. She had the upper hand, and I was barely hanging on. As I pulled into Robert King's office parking garage, I didn't even bother looking for a spot. I just parked wherever there was space and sat there for a moment, staring at my phone. Natalie had already texted me again. "I'll be waiting for your answer, John." I hated how calm she sounded, like she was sure of the outcome, like she knew I had no choice but to fold. With a deep breath, I stepped out of the car, slammed the door behind me, and made my way up to Robert's office. I felt like I was walking toward my execution. Robert's receptionist gave me a polite nod when I arrived. She didn't ask why I looked like I hadn't slept in a week. She just led me back to Robert's office like she'd done 1,000 times before. When I walked in, Robert was sitting behind his desk, going over some papers. He didn't look up as I sat across from him. He just went on with his work like I wasn't about to drop a bombshell on him. When he finally did look up, I wasn't sure what I was expecting. But it wasn't the steely gaze he gave me, like he was already prepared for bad news. "So, how's it going?" he asked, his voice casual, as if we were just talking about the weather. I let out a humorous laugh. "How do you think it's going?" He raised an eyebrow. "You look like someone ran over your dog. What happened?" I couldn't hold it in any longer. Everything came rushing out in a flood. The cameras, the blackmail, Natalie's ultimatum. I told him about the video, about how she had me by the balls, and how she was using it all to control me. I told him how she was demanding I stay with her, pretending everything was fine, or else I'd lose everything. I finished, sitting back in my chair, like I had just confessed to something I couldn't take back. For a long moment, Robert didn't say anything. He just stared at me, his eyes unreadable. Then, finally, he let out a deep sigh and leaned back in his chair. "John," he began, his voice calm, almost too calm. "This is bad. Real bad." I nodded. I didn't need him to tell me that. I've dealt with a lot of divorces in my time, but I've never had a situation quite like this one. She's got you in a chokehold, and I won't lie to you, it's not looking good for you. My chest tightened. "What do you mean? I'm the one getting screwed here. She's the one who cheated, not me." Robert raised a hand. I know. But here's the thing. She has the proof. She's got a video. She's got everything on you. That's her trump card. You don't just get to walk away from something like that. You're in a weak position, and no judge is going to ignore that kind of evidence, not with her holding all the cards. I swallowed hard. "So what? You're telling me I've got no options? I'm just stuck?" He shook his head. "Not stuck, but it's going to be an uphill battle. She's playing this perfectly. She doesn't just want the house, John. She's making it clear that she wants you to stay with her. She wants to control you. And, as much as it disgusts me to say this, you're probably going to have to give her exactly what she wants." I felt the weight of his words sink in, and I just sat there, numb. I had thought I'd come here for answers.
I had hoped Robert would tell me that there was a way out, that there was a chance I could fight back, but he wasn't giving me any hope. So what? I just agree to her terms? I just let her win? Robert's voice softened. You have to understand something. You're not just fighting for the house or your assets. You're fighting for your future. If you go to court and this video comes out, it's not going to end well for you. She'll use that video to destroy your reputation. She'll drag you through the mud, and it'll be your fault in the eyes of the court. The best thing you can do right now is try to control the damage. I felt like I'd been hit in the gut. So I just cave? Robert leaned forward, his hands clasped in front of him. I'm not saying you cave, but you need to think long-term. You've got a choice. You can try to fight her, go to court, and lose everything. Or you can agree to her terms, at least for now. Get out of this without losing your assets and figure out how to move forward. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Every word he said felt like it was crushing me, pushing me deeper into this hole. You're telling me to stay with her? I asked, the words tasting like poison in my mouth. I'm telling you that your position is incredibly weak, Robert said, his voice firm. You don't have the luxury of being a hero right now, John. This is a matter of damage control. If you want to come out of this with anything left, you might have to make that deal. I sat back in the chair, my mind racing. I didn't want to be that guy. I didn't want to give in to her. I didn't want to live in a lie. But the truth was staring me in the face. Natalie had control. And unless I wanted to risk losing everything, the house, my assets, my reputation, I might not have much of a choice. I'll need to think about it, I said, though my voice didn't sound convinced. What do I tell her? Robert's eyes softened a little. Tell her you'll consider it, but you need to act fast. The longer you wait, the worse this gets.
I nodded slowly, a sense of dread settling over me. What kind of man would I be if I gave in? What kind of life would I have left if I agreed to her ultimatum? But right now, the stakes were too high, and I wasn't sure I could survive the fallout of losing everything. I spent the next few days in a haze, spinning my wheels, trying to figure out my next move. The walls were closing in. Natalie's blackmail, Robert's advice, the weight of it all was starting to crush me. The video, the proof of my infidelity. I could feel it haunting every room, every corner of my life, like an unwelcome ghost that wouldn't leave me alone. I hated feeling weak. I hated the idea that I was being played, that I had no control over my own fate. But I had to admit it. Robert was right. I couldn't fight this battle in the open. Not yet. Not with that video hanging over my head like a guillotine. But there was something I could do. Someone I could call. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the half-empty whiskey glass in front of me. The answer was so simple, it almost seemed ridiculous. Tommy. Tommy and I went way back to college, when hacking was more of a hobby than a crime. He wasn't the kind of guy you'd introduce to your parents. Hell, he wouldn't even meet you at the bar if the Wi-Fi wasn't solid. But he was brilliant. A computer genius with the ability to break into any system. He didn't just know tech, he was in it. He lived and breathed it. And while most of us were trying to pass our exams, Tommy was busy cracking into university servers, poking around in places he shouldn't have been. But things went sideways when he got cocky. One night, he broke into a few too many systems. Things got messy. Next thing I knew, Tommy was behind bars, charged with hacking into government files. He did a year. After that, his reputation was ruined, but his skills? Those didn't go anywhere. When he got out, Tommy laid low for a while. I lost track of him. And eventually, the only way I kept in touch was through word of mouth. But he resurfaced a couple of years ago, working as a freelance IT guy. He kept his head down, did his work, and avoided the attention he used to crave.
Now he ran a small but steady business, fixing people's problems for a fraction of what a big tech company would charge. A perfect fit for someone like me. I knew he could help me with this. If anyone had the skills to wipe a video from existence, it was Tommy. I just had to find a way to make it happen. So I called him. The phone rang twice before he picked up. "John, man, long time no hear." Tommy's voice came through the receiver, casual but with that unmistakable edge. "Yeah, it's been a while," I said, trying to sound composed, even though the urgency was eating at me. "Listen, I need a favor, a big one." There was a beat of silence on the other end. "I don't do big jobs, John. You know that," he said, his tone turning cautious.
"I'm not asking for anything illegal," I quickly clarified. "But I need access to a device. Someone has something on me, something that could destroy everything. I need you to delete it." He hesitated, clearly intrigued but wary. "What are we talking about here?" "A video," I said, keeping it simple. "Someone filmed me, Tommy. They've got footage of me with another woman, and they're using it against me. I need you to get in there and erase it, completely." There was a long pause. I could hear the faint hum of Tommy's keyboard in the background. "A video, huh?" Tommy finally spoke, sounding more serious now. "That's not a small request, man. If this person knows what they're doing, they've got backups, and it won't just be on one device." "I know, but I don't care. I need it gone." Another pause. All right, but here's the deal, John. If you want me to do this, I need access to at least one of her devices. A phone, a laptop, something. I can't just guess where she has it saved or hope to find it. I need to get inside her system, and for that, I need a password." I frowned. I can't just walk up to her and ask for it. She's got it locked down, and I'm not going to get anywhere trying to get the password out of her. I'm not saying it's going to be easy, but you want this done, right? You want that video gone? Then you've got to help me get access. Otherwise, this is just a wild goose chase. I leaned back in my chair, frustration gnawing at me. I couldn't believe it was coming to this. I couldn't believe I was relying on Tommy, of all people, to fix this mess. But I knew he was right. Without the password, this was all just theoretical. It wouldn't work. "All right," I said, voice flat. "How long will it take if I get it?" "Depends. But if you get me access, we're talking a few hours, maybe less. I'll get rid of everything, make it disappear. But like I said, I need a device. One way or another, you've got to give me a way in." "I'll figure it out," I said, hanging up the phone. I felt the familiar weight of the decision pressing down on me. I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to play these games anymore. I didn't want to get sucked into this world of lies, blackmail, and secrets. But I had no choice. If I didn't act, I'd lose everything. My life would be over. And Natalie knew it. I had to get that password. I had to get to her devices. And if that meant playing her game for a while longer, then so be it. I had no choice but to take the next step. And it meant breaking into my own house. I hadn't seen Natalie for a couple of days after our last conversation. She'd gone back to work, like everything was fine. Like she hadn't just blackmailed me into staying with her, threatening to take everything if I didn't comply. I could feel her eyes on me every time we spoke, like she knew I was about to make a move. And the idea that she was always one step ahead made my skin crawl. But I had to do it. I couldn't keep running from this. I needed that video gone. I needed erased before she used it against me. And to do that, I had to get into her laptop. So, while Natalie was at work, I made my plan. The shack. It wasn't exactly the kind of place I thought I'd be breaking into. But there I was, parked outside, staring at the house we once shared. It was quiet. Too quiet. I could see her car wasn't in the driveway,
That meant she was at work. I stepped out of the truck, my nerves racing. I knew this was wrong. I knew I was crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. But I was too deep in this mess now. This wasn't just about us anymore. This was about survival.
The front door was locked, of course. It had been changed the day she came back from the country house, the day she set her trap. But I knew this house like the back of my hand. The window in the back of the kitchen was always left slightly ajar, a detail I had noticed countless times over the years, thinking it was just a quirk of how we lived. I walked around to the side of the house, squatting down near the window. My hands were trembling, but I gritted my teeth and forced myself to stay focused. It was quiet. Too quiet. I glanced at my watch. I had maybe an hour before she came back. I pulled the small flathead screwdriver from my back pocket and gently worked at the window latch. My heart was pounding in my chest, the sound so loud it almost drowned out the sound of my own breath. Click. I opened the window just enough to squeeze through. I was inside. The house smelled like it always did, a mixture of cinnamon and something else I couldn't quite place. The familiar scent made my stomach churn as I walked quietly through the house, moving swiftly toward the office. It was strange being here, like I was a ghost, walking through the rooms where we once shared everything, knowing it was all about to end. I had no idea what would happen once I got the password. Would she notice it was gone? Would she find out? I didn't want to think about that right now. I had one goal: to get into her laptop and find what I needed. The office door was ajar. I stepped inside, my eyes scanning the desk. There it was, her laptop, sitting right where I'd seen it the night before. I sat down at the desk and opened it. The screen flickered to life, and I quickly clicked on the login screen. I knew her password, or at least I used to know it. We'd been together long enough that I knew the pattern, but for some reason I couldn't remember the exact combination. The pressure was mounting. I could feel my palms sweating as I tried typing in a few combinations, each one more desperate than the last. Nothing. Shit. I cursed under my breath. The anxiety was crushing me. I could hear every sound in the house, every creak of the floorboards outside the room, but I had to focus. I couldn't let her catch me. I leaned back in the chair and stared at the screen for a moment, trying to remember. What was the one thing I knew about her password? I closed my eyes, thinking back. It wasn't complicated. It wasn't some random jumble of letters. It was something meaningful. Then it hit me. Her mother's birthday. The one thing she always used for passwords. Her mother. I typed it in quickly, and there it was. The screen unlocked. I let out a shaky breath and clicked into the saved passwords. My heart was pounding in my chest. My palms were slick with sweat, but I didn't stop. I scrolled through her list of accounts, looking for the one that mattered. And there it was, the login for the cloud storage where she had saved the video. I clicked on it. My hands trembled as I downloaded the file. I could already feel the weight lifting off my chest, but I knew I couldn't relax yet. I grabbed my phone and sent a quick message to Tommy. I've got it. I'm sending the file. The minutes that followed felt like hours as the file uploaded. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, that she was somehow standing over my shoulder. But there was no time to second guess. I hit send, and Tommy confirmed that he had it. Got it, John. I'll make it disappear. You won't have to worry about it again. The relief was almost immediate, but it didn't last. I still had to get out. I needed to leave before Natalie came home and realized what had happened. I quickly closed the laptop and wiped down the keyboard. I shut the window, locking it just like it was before. My hands were shaking now, but I forced myself to stay calm. I made my way to the back door, closing it behind me as I slipped out, blending back into the world. I didn't look back. I couldn't. But I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. It was strange, sitting across from her in that cafe. The room, with its whitewashed walls and distant hum of quiet conversations, felt almost too calm, too normal, like everything hadn't just crumbled around us. I watched Natalie as she sat there, so confident, so sure of herself. She thought she had me cornered. She thought I was going to cave in. Hell, I had practically been serving up my weakness on a silver platter for her to feast on. But today was different. Today, I wasn't the man she'd been manipulating for months. I was done with being her pawn. I had the papers with me, sitting quietly in my briefcase. The papers that would end this. The divorce papers. The ones that would set me free. And as I looked at her, that smug, self-satisfied smile still hanging on her lips, I realized something. I had been wrong. I'd spent so long feeling sorry for myself, thinking I had no way out. But the truth was, the entire time, I had been in control. I had just been waiting for the right moment to flip the script. She leaned forward, her eyes bright with expectation. "So, have you thought about it, John? Are you ready to come to your senses? You'll see that this can work out. We can make it work, if you just agree to my terms." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. Instead, I reached into my bag, pulled out the stack of divorce papers, and slammed them down onto the table in front of her. The sound of the papers hitting the table was like a gunshot in the quiet room. Her eyes went wide. For a moment, she didn't move. Her hand froze mid-air, halfway between the table and her coffee cup. What is this?" she stammered, her voice trembling slightly for the first time she walked in. "This is the end, Natalie," I said, my voice low but steady. "I'm done. No more games, no more lies." Her face contorted into something between disbelief and rage. She laughed, a bitter, short laugh, like she thought this was some kind of joke. "You think this is it? You think I'll just let you walk away with nothing? You don't get to do this to me, John. I have everything on you. Everything." I leaned back in my chair, watching her unravel in front of me. It was almost sad how desperate she looked. But I wasn't sad. No, I was calm. Calm in a way I hadn't felt in months, maybe years. She was so used to pulling the strings, so used to being the one in control, that seeing her like this, unhinged, was a victory in itself.